Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Baret Tounian.
All right, Baret.
Hi, Jeff Cloud. What an honor to be in such a beautiful company, brother. Thank you very much for turning up today. And I have your beautiful book in front of me, which is Waking Up in the Dream.
There's a color.
There we are. That's a colored version of the beautiful book. So, brother, thank you very much. I'm really excited today.
I am as well.
It's a real privilege to be in such a beautiful individual like yourself. I mean, if I can be extremely transparent to all the listeners and to yourself, you've mentored me for many years, and I am extremely blessed. And so is your book, and it sits very dear and is embedded in my heart. So I thank you for that. And truly, the purpose in life is to find your purpose and to give your whole heart and soul, and to be in the I am 100% present. So I'd like to hand the mic to you, and just in case there are some viewers out there who are not too familiar with your book and to your powerful messages, please take the opportunity now just to express, your journey, your background, and to this moment of this incredible, exciting times that we're living in. So I'll just hand the mic, just a brief introduction of your profile.
Okay, thank you, brother. I'll make my story up until this point short, because there's a lot of wonderful information and tools that I want to share. So basically, I grew up in the Midwest. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I have two sisters, an older one and a younger one. And my father died in a plane crash when I was 7. So I never really got to know him. He was always on the road as a traveling sales manager for the Ford Motor Company. So he was gone all week, and he was only home on Saturday and Sunday. So when this plane crash happened, and my uncle, who was his brother, came and told me that my father was never coming home, that was about as traumatic as anything you could ever hear. And so I basically kind of shut down. I didn't know how to function. And on top of that, I was placed in the Catholic school system, private Catholic schools with nuns and priests. And now this was all part of my soul contract, but I didn't know that when I was 7. So part of my journey was seeing in the Catholic system all of the deception and the invertedness, where they would talk about love once in a while, but it was really in all actuality Judgment Day every single day. The nuns were angry. They were, in their 60s, 70s. They were all pissed off. You could feel it. You could tell it. And that's what I grew up in. And I was a good student. I was smart. My best friend and I were straight A and B students, sports, very well into sports and stuff. But, I could see from a very early age that many things were not as they appeared to be. And so this was part of my coming into this earthly plane and beginning to remember, but I didn't really remember. I just knew that stuff was wrong. So as a result, I would share things. I would question everything, which you have to do. And I'll get into that in full detail when we talk about our very limiting belief system, which isn't even our own. They all came from outside of us, from all these different systems: science, medical, religion, faked history. It's a brilliant plan of inversion because they had all of their DNA. And as we know, ours was hijacked down to 2 strands or maybe even less. I don't know. One of my favorite mantras is, I know nothing. That opens you up and it lets you be honest. It lets you admit and know and affirm that your belief system and what you think you know is zero. And that opens up a whole world of information, and you don't need to defend things anymore. I mean, I'll defend love. I'll defend the children, you know. However, I don't need to be in resistance. My ego doesn't need to be triggered with all the automatics that the 3D matrix is set up to trigger people and get them to react over and over and over in loop. And then again, judgment, which we'll get into, which is the biggest addiction on the planet. Judgment of ourselves and judgment of every other thing we see out there that we do not like. And I've shared it on almost every show that I've done. I was a judgeaholic. I thought that's how we healed and fixed things, by pointing out everything that was wrong. But what happens, being a powerful magnetic being, our thoughts, our words, our beliefs, our imagination, and then the frequency and vibration that we put behind that, whether we're aware of it or not, key word, conscious awareness, which is really the only game in town on this journey. That and love, unconditional love. But what happened was, I just started to magnetize more of everything that I was judging into my reality. And then I was like, I got to a point where I'm like, you know, what the hell? And then I figured out some more stuff. And then, you know, to end this story up until now, I met one of my mentors, a man named Don Miguel Ruiz, in 2001. I became an apprentice of his for 7 years closely. I was his recording engineer. We did all his radio shows in my studio in San Diego. And I was also dear friends with his 2 sons, Miguel Jr. and Jose, mostly. We were in a band together. We toured around. It was great mirroring, great mirroring. And Miguel didn't teach me the tools in the book because he was more of a storyteller. He was like a kind of a Carlos Castaneda. But I'll wrap up with this. He gave me the gift of showing me that my beliefs were not even my own. And when I saw that, everything popped open. And I went, oh my God, everybody's got this tiny little belief system, which is actually, in reality, it's nothing more than a very, very limiting prison. And that can trigger the ego, because the ego wants to remain in control, and it wants to attempt to feel safe when there is no control. And so when I saw that, that really opened up a world for me. And I was able to begin helping people that I could see they were completely trapped in their tiny little belief system, and they were defending it, and they were automatically reacting to anything in the 3D matrix that they knew how to set up and program on the television or the news or in school or religion, how to trigger people. And so it's kind of led up to my journey today, which has been 22, almost 23 years since I had that realization. And I never planned on writing a book. I was a recording studio engineer and musician. I still am. But that was how I made my living. And I just, probably 10, 12 years ago, or maybe even longer, started waking up in the middle of the night and having to write things down, notes to self. Because if I didn't write them down, they would never be that clear in the morning. I couldn't remember them with the clarity that I had at 3 in the morning. So I started writing down my notes around the belief system, judgments, automatic reactions, inner healing, wounds, self-judgment, self-hatred, shame, guilt, not good enough, all these programs that were given to me. And that's what became the book and the course. And it's been refined and refined to where I can take somebody one-on-one through a 30-day process that will save them 20 to 30 years of what it took me. And we can actually have fun doing it. It doesn't have to be hard or difficult. Those are 3D programs that I see people use these spell words all the time. And without the awareness, they are giving their subconscious the complete wrong instructions around money, love, health, and not understanding that they are actually creating the opposite in many cases with their thoughts, words, beliefs, and energy and their focus than what they truly desire to create. So I know that was a lot, but that's a pretty fast packet of 23 years there of what we're going to dive into here. So thank you for that. And
thank you, bro. That was absolutely awesome information. Also, some golden nuggets of information which I took out from your book, which is embedded in everything that I do. And you've embarked on so much of what you've just said. We don't do anything less than love. Your book has also been an extremely powerful invitation to uncover, the certain blockages that I certainly had. And fundamentally, my main objective is to become encompassing the I am present, which is the main objective is to become that authentic self. And you know that as a bioactivator, and because what you give out is what you will reap. And in terms of my presence at this point, is I know that whenever you're doing anything, so-called anything, any kind of movement, you're doing it from a synthetic point of view, or you do it from a natural point of view. And I get the victim mentality reference to the fact that, yeah, I mean, we've been indoctrinated, but now my understanding is with reference to a natural law, a natural order. So once we don't resist and we don't go against the flow, that's when even reference, because I know earlier we talked about the aging process. I find, even from my perspective, when you understand the essence of how and what natural law is, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about your passion towards the plant kingdom, the animals aspects, because I know how huge your compassion is towards other living organisms, because what we are all about is guardianship, being good stewards, being kind. Are you actually walking your talk, or are you just talking your walk? It's once you encompass everything. And just to finish off, because I'll hand the mic to you, is for me, being in that field of neutrality is the ultimate, because the temptation is always there to say, that's the bad guy, this is the good guy. What I do, and I know we're on the same page on this, is you take everything and you bring it into order, into the I am. So you don't need to say anything negative or positive. These are the tools of your trade to bring the essence of who and what you are, and to create new. And everything is, as you know, a state of mind. A state of mind. Heaven is not a place, it's a state of mind. And what you project either hell or heaven. Brother, I'm so taken by your level of compassion, and it brings tears to my eyes all the time. When I remember that time when you had that beautiful, you have to help me with names, I struggle with names, but you had a beautiful dog, and you had him on a scooter. Do you remember you were going around?
That's Lou. Well, it's a couple different dogs, because I deal with a lot of wild dogs here. But I almost started crying when you said, and before I get into that, I just want to say, brother, you embody love and kindness as much as anybody I know. And so you really embody the tools and you walk the walk, and I'm really proud to call you a friend. And when you brought up the speaking about the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, nature, I almost started crying, because I realize, in all honesty, if it wasn't for Mother Nature, the woods, the streams, the creeks, the trees, and the animals, I'm sure I would not still be here. There's no way. that was my solace growing up. Luckily, my mom bought us a nice home in a beautiful area with the insurance money she got from my father's passing. And I had woods behind my house, and I was in it every day. But now I'm currently living in Thailand. I came over here from San Diego, California, almost 7 years ago. And Thailand is so rich in beauty and nature and fruits and vegetables and plants and animals and dragonflies and the most incredible flowers. And it's mind-blowing. And I use that every day as one of my sources of go-to gratitude. And so I make a commitment every single day after I awaken out of what we call the sleeping dream. I immediately give love to every one of my trillions of cells, all my organs, everything that's been unconditionally loving on me since I came out of the womb without me even having to try. I've abused this body with drugs, alcohol, motorcycle accidents, guilt, shame, self-judgment. There's been times when I would punch myself in the face because of the programming that I received from the Catholic religion, that you will go to hell if you masturbate. And I have no problem sharing this stuff because there's a lot of people that are living in real guilt and shame, and I'm not going to anymore. And I have no problem stating what I've done or anything else, but being honest and authentic is really where it's at. Yeah. I hear your bowl and I raise you a tone. So let's see what we can get into here. And if you want to ask me a question, you can. I've got some notes here, but
yeah,
really?
No, let's go for it, brother. I mean, for me, the soul is only concerned with one thing, to evolve to the highest level of freedom. I mean, that's what this activation is all about, not to, do no harm is the embedded in the nucleus of everything we do. But for me, the juicy conversation, if time allows, which we don't do time, as you know, everything is created from within, energetic, holographic field. So once you are truly embedded in the I am presence and do no harm and do not impose on the freedom of others. So take it away with reference to your own experience with holographic.
So thank you for that. And you're so on it that what a great conversation, from my point of view anyway, because to me, I'm really only interested in having conversations with people that are open-minded, aware, they understand what the belief system is and how limiting it is. Their purpose and their commitment is to do the inner healing and then to expand their conscious awareness, because it's the only game in town. There is no end to the levels of conscious awareness. And so I'll just encapsulate kind of the tools that I share in the book, the online course, and one-on-one with people. They're the starting point for seeing the programming that we've received. And you must be able to see a program or a wound in order to clear it. If you can't see it, then the ego is going to defend it over and over and over, and it's going to have a story of why it does it and who did it to them and everything else. And I can pick that apart for somebody in the first 5 minutes of our first call, very gently and lovingly. No more do you need to do sessions going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist that we're all trained in the Rockefeller School of money and keeping you coming back and not really healing anything. If you haven't been down that rabbit hole, you're going to get red-pilled pretty soon when the emergency broadcast system happens and all these disclosures and exposures are going to happen. But it's going to be great, because until you understand that, I'm not saying that nobody understands this. Probably everybody that watches your show or my YouTube channel or Facebook page already understands this on a pretty good level. And what I always say is, I'm always speaking to Jeff to remind him every single time, because I haven't healed it all. I haven't cleared it all. And it can be frustrating sometimes because it can seem like it's endless. But I really do believe in my heart that the energies that are coming into the planet and our DNA switching back on, we're very, very close to healing thousands of years of pain, guilt, suffering, wounds, trauma. And this is why we came here. So the number one thing that anybody has to do is we must be willing to look at every single one of our judgments and our triggers, because that's where the wounds are. That shows where the ego is running its repeating programs in control. And we must do it. There's no getting around it. And so that's the first part that I take people through. And one of the more powerful things that I've found that will help people to heal is to be open to the fact that, and again, don't believe me, like one of my mentors said, don't believe me, but don't believe yourself. Question everything. And you can feel if you go to question something or you hear something where you're going, well, I don't really know if I want that to be true, but it feels like deep down, I know there's still some stuff to clear, and I'm still judging people, and I'm still automatically reacting to things that I see in the external. Then the good news is there is your, I don't like to use the word W-O-R-K because it's got a very heavy, it's a smell word. However, there is your invitation right there, and there's your starting point. And when you begin to use these tools and you print out this simple daily tracking sheet, which will guide you right through whatever comes up for you during the day. And then you start keeping track of all the triggers and the judgments. And you may have 65 of them during a day. I've had people that have had up to 500, and you keep track of them. And I show you how to do that. Very simple. And when you begin to see those programs running for a day or two or even 3, you start to see the automatics, and they start to get dismantled, because I teach the process of stopping and then asking a few specific questions, which begins to dismantle this stuff and show you what the gift is in seeing these programs and addressing them. And so one of the main pieces for inner healing, because usually people get on a call with me or do a session, they'll go, yeah, my dad was an alcoholic and he abused me, and my mom, and this all happened during the first 7 years. And just by stating to them, are you open to the possibility, I call it a fact, but I'm not going to put that on anybody. Are you open to the possibility that you chose every bit of this as part of your soul contract before you came into this incarnation? And 99 times out of 100, they go, yeah. Sometimes, if they've been holding on to their story for so long and that's all they know, their ego's going to want to defend what those people did to them and how my mom's still doing it and she's a narcissist. Well, great. What a wonderful teaching. It's not great. Well, let's look at it. So these are all gifts when you choose to look at it with the proper perspective. You don't have to like it. I've told people many times when they told me, this was part of your soul contract. And I'm like, early on my waking up, there's no way I would have ever chosen to go through this amount of pain, hell, and suffering. But as I've awakened more on my journey and expanded my conscious awareness using these tools, and everybody else is my teacher, everybody's my teacher. Everybody, especially those that trigger me. And you've got to understand that it's your thoughts, your words, your beliefs, your imagination, and your frequency and vibration that is creating your reality. Now, everybody's heard that before for years, if not decades. However, are you tracking and catching and observing and stopping every time you have a judgment about self or something out there, whether it's a pedophile or somebody in government? We know 99.999999% of them are crooked, and they've either taken the money or they've been coerced somehow or blackmailed into doing whatever it is that the people above them say that they're going to do. And so you got to be able to see this and admit it in order to heal from it, because this 3D matrix is set up to keep you in automatic reaction mode all the time. It's all fear. It's all separation, Republican versus Democrat. There's a queen or a king rolling over you. What a crock of shit. Nobody rules over you. Nobody. And you are equal to God. And if that shocks you and that goes against your religion, don't shoot the messenger. So I'll stop with that right there. I tend to really want to deliver a lot, and I'm passionate. So I'm not the 30-second answer guy.
That's fine. If we were to remove division, complete utter division, what are we left with in your own humble understanding? For example, if you
remove division,
well, let's use a hypothetical example. If someone asked me, where do you live? I would say low frequency, high frequency, neutral. What do you want to hear? Low frequency, obviously, we live in Bulgaria, for example, from my perspective. You're in Thailand, for example. High perspective, we live on Mother Earth. But in terms of meridians and ley lines and things, maybe there is an aspect where geographically where we're placed, it represents a certain part of an energetic organ, which I've come to understand. Bulgaria is a region that represents the kidneys of it's to do with relationships and what have you. But when you're truly anchored into the I am presence, and everybody, so my take is I treat people the way I treat myself. So my cells are like you do, the way you practice and how you begin your day with great gratitude and thank you for all that is. And we don't defend anything. Everything is another version of ourselves. Fifth dimension, what we're saying is that everything is a state of mind and what we give out. Okay? So it's a state of mind. Everything's a state of mind. So we're projecting everything from what is happening within ourselves. So once you understand what is division, which is a control mechanism that separates from the divine oneness that we all are. So when we get to that level of realization, for me, fifth dimension is nobody has written it, my understanding. So you are so there's no more control mechanisms, which is absolute freedom to do, and unscripted, unedited, a bit like us today. We're going with the flow. However, having met some remarkable individuals like yourself, beautiful individual like Rick Jewers, I think I interviewed him not that long ago, and Lee Mudway, and from Global People.
I'm aware of Rick and Lee, yeah. Sure.
Fantastic. What they've helped me to understand as well is about guardianship. How does that sit with you when you say, I don't own anything? That really, or whatever that you own, to the level of the 3D and beyond. For me, what raises my game is sharing with
Absolutely.
no reward. It's about unconditional love, brother.
Because we really don't own anything.
Exactly. Why are we so kind of, it's mine, it's all mine?
It's a program. It's a program based on lack of money, which has been the Cabal's and the Satanists, one of their number one programs of control, for sure. So yeah, I'm all about keeping things simple. Because to me, if I go personally, that where am I in relation to the geographical location on the planet or whatever, that can kind of get confusing and take me down another road. I like to go right to it. Where's my frequency right now? Am I in love and gratitude right now? Sometimes I'm just kind of in a daydream riding my scooter with the dog, and I'm looking at, I can't even take in all of the magic of the plants and the different colored flowers, and it's unbelievable. And I made a promise to myself that I would say I love you to every single animal and insect that I see every day. So I'm riding by these water buffalo, and they got these white storks standing on their back, and they got this relationship, and there's snakes and dragonflies and wild dogs and cats and everything. And And I don't do it because I'm so great. I do it because I notice that they're in my dream to provide me with love, and they're holding a frequency. And this is what I mean. I've been connected to animals all my life, but in Thailand, it just showed up in my reality that there were so many street dogs that were wounded and injured that I had to take it to a deeper level. And I can tell you that the majority of people think that they are smarter than dogs and horses and a lot of animals. And I can tell you that that is absolutely the ego tricking people, because I've seen dogs, they can sense things that I could never even sense and tune into. The same thing with horses. And so when I see these animals, insects, beautiful colored dragonflies, butterflies with paisley and sacred geometry, I'm just like going, that is incredible. That is freaking incredible. And a lot of these things that we take for granted, I am challenging myself to raise my level of gratitude every single day. And the only way to do that I found is to commit to it, doing it first thing every single morning, as soon as I awaken out of that sleeping dream while my head's still on the pillow. Otherwise, those 50 to 80,000 thoughts start running immediately. I got to get up. I got to get ready for a session. I got to take a shower. I got to make sure that I transfer this money in my bank or payment, blah, blah, blah. And it just runs all day long, over and over. And sorry, my screen saver just turned on. And so the only way to do it is to commit to doing it and making it your new program. And consciously creating your reality while your head's still on that pillow. That means I am completely surrounded by abundance, incredibly awake and aware, kind, compassionate people. The perfect people show up to me to create projects, to go through this process with me, for me to share these tools with them so they can share it with others. And it's already here now. It's never in the future. It's already here now. And why is that? Because the subconscious works that way. Your desire is either here now vibrationally, or it's in the future. And that was something that they left out of the movie The Secret. Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why Rhonda Byrne's so famous. And it went to mega multi-million Cannes film, all the rich people partying and drinking their champagne. I have nothing against Rhonda Byrne. I don't know her. But isn't it interesting that they left out the most important part? Wonder who she's working with. Not projecting anything, but I question everything, and that is a huge, huge question. And I think I know the answer. But I make my own decisions. But yeah, it's so key. So key. So go ahead.
I was going to say key. I mean, that's so powerful. The key. For me, that which unlocks one word, which encompasses, which has been a huge game changer. And I thank you and all the brothers and sisters out there. You're not doing anything really if you're not happy. So for me, it's about happiness. And you can only be happy if you know the essence of why you open your eyes every day. If you don't know that, it's a hamster wheel.
Yeah. To me, the other word is passion. You must be passionate about whatever you're doing. And then the universe, if you're doing it from the heart and you're passionate about it, whether it's helping ants or rescuing children from underground dumbs or just being kind and smiling to people. I live in Thailand. I speak very little Thai because it's a little bit challenging. But the people here know me. And every single person that rides by me in a car or that's walking or that looks at me or is on a scooter, I nod to them and I smile. Every single one. Why do I do that? It's not because I'm so great and I'm so advanced. It's because I see that when they see me in a split second, even if I'm going 60 miles, well, here it's kilometers an hour, and they're going the other way, in that split second, they see that they're acknowledged and respected, and they nod back. They don't even have to think about it. It's like an automatic thing from the heart. And that shows me that that frequency is from the God source and love. And so I just continue to play with it. Keyword play, 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 and use these tools every day. And one of the things that's super valuable, I'll share a couple keys. You can take them or leave them. I know you've done them. Naming your ego, so you can see it when it's doing what it does and why it does what it does. I name my ego Larry. Those that have seen my videos know this because I do my best to share these tools on every transmission that I do. Larry was the judger, the fear-based guy, the conniver, the guy in shame, guilt, not good enough. And he's still in there. Yet I've just showed him that if we get playful and we come from love and we use these tools, that everything that we attract into our reality on all these timelines, which are already here, start to show up on a much higher frequency. But you must program it every single day. And so the other thing I do, it's in the book and the course and in my mentorships, I have everybody set 12 alarms on their phone. They could go off silently if you're working a job or whatever. But the goal is you will see that message on your phone more and more and more and more that will remind you, where's your frequency right now? Are you focused in love? Are you in gratitude? Are you tripping on something somebody did to you a year ago for that money they didn't pay you back? Where is your focus right now? That's why it's so important to unplug from the tell-lie vision. I'll still watch a movie once in a while. I watched Black Beauty last night, and it had me in tears. The Disney version, because there's a bunch. And I'm not a fan of Disney because they're pedos and human traffickers. But just so people, if they want to know, it was 2020, and it was a Disney film. And it was very well done from the heart. And it's really... So if you set those alarms on your phone, because you can listen to this right now, and Larry might go, that's a good idea. But if you don't do it, and you know it's a good idea to consciously create your reality and love on all your trillions of cells first thing every morning, and when you're standing in that sacred waters in the shower coming down on you, you know it's a good idea because every one of these trillions of cells, and if you don't know it, they're consciously aware and they're listening to every thought, word, emotion, and frequency that you instruct to them. So why would you not program them to come from a loving, playful, excited, compassionate, and passionate place? And if you don't do it, the 3D programs are going to run. But I tell you, you do 30 days using these tools, and you will have your proof. Even in a week or two, you'll see it. And then you'll go, I'm going to use these for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
This is over 30 years and $100,000 it took me to put this together. And a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and being called crazy and a tinfoil hat guy. And every single thing I've shared has turned out to be true. Some things have not been proven yet fully, but over the coming months, they're going to be. And so, to invest in this book, which costs nothing, or the course, it's under $100, or a mentorship with me. And this sounds like a 3D sales program because we've been taught everybody's selling something now. Well, I look forward to the time very soon, and it's going to happen, where we don't need to charge. Because this planet was originally set up to be free energy, fully abundant, no poison food, air, or water, nothing. Everything was given. It was heaven on earth. And we're coming back to that. And please don't be one of those people that goes, I'll believe it when I see it. Because that means that you don't believe it. And if you tell your subconscious you don't believe it, you're a lot more likely to never see it. Because timelines are splitting. I cannot prove that. But there's enough information about there that people that want to stay stuck in judgment, in fear, and projecting, and don't want to go in and do the inner healing, the 5D vibration of that earth is likely to separate from the 3D vibration, and you can live in whatever vibration you choose to live in, because that's what's going to happen. But if any of this resonates with you and go, wow, I would really appreciate somebody that spells it out super easy, step by step, with nothing left out. And that's how easy it is. Yes, it takes practice. Yes, you have to call yourself on your automatic reactions, your judgments, and your triggers. But you name your ego, and you'll start to see real quickly what Larry does. And then that's the first step, because again, you cannot dismantle a program that's an automatic unless you can see it. And these are the tools. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing them, because they saved my life. And they've saved a lot of people's lives. I journey with people that are 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 decades young. I never use the word OLD. Why? Because my cells are listening to everything I say. And I'll get into spell words if we have time here, because it's one of the most valuable, quick things I can ever share that'll completely change people's lives. What else you got? What's on your mind as I've shared all this?
It's going with the flow, brother. I mean, but reference to, like everything is a biofeedback. So what you magnetize, so you shall reap. So if that is true, which is all about truth, bringing what's in alignment with what you are magnetizing, and if that's true, because that's why I'm a guardian of the Activator, because I don't take ownership and I don't get attacked, because it belongs to the people, for the people. So the ultimate is the all-knowing, the all-encompassing, and not to try to defend anything. And the temptation's always there, where you think, but there's a better version of yourself, a lesser version, and these are, again, one has to be careful, because you could fall into, again, division on a different level, which is perfect, because my understanding is the vehicle that takes you. Do we need the word belief? What is belief at the end of the day? It's a vehicle that takes you to self. So when you are ultimately there, you are embedded into and grounded and rooted into the God I am presence. You're the ultimate procreator. If that's the case, what we're all about is the activation and the realization and the purpose and the joy of creating and the fun of creating, because we are creators. All right. And that's so important, and to be happy. Again, sorry, I don't mean to raise this, because happiness is so important. We have to be in joy and in happiness. Yeah, I can throw a few questions here and there, but if I throw the word guardianship, what does that entail to you, in terms? I mean, do you, in terms of sharing things on an unconditional level, where does that sit? Because this is going to be a bit of a test for humanity, because it's being in a new field of currency, because money being at the moment a very attractive mechanism of exchange. But if we were to remove the money aspect out, what are we left with? So that's the kind of things that we're kind of looking at the moment, in terms of energy. Are we energizing people? Because what I do, and this bioactivation is about consciousness being super conscious. Super conscious means what? Being very, very conscious of your footprint. What impression am I leaving behind? How am I affecting people? Because that's ultimately so important. How you
Absolutely.
affect the organism. Because then you don't have to chase anything, brother. One of the reasons why we're chasing, I mean, I got out of that mentality a long time ago. I live in abundance. I've been living in abundance for 10 years. Some people have thought I was mad. What do you do for a living? I don't do anything. Really? What's your title? I don't know. You give whatever you want. That's another label. But I get, because it's a form of navigation to a point of fifth dimension. Once you get to that state of complete ownership, what is ownership? You're taking full ownership of the black and the white, the masculine and the feminine, the right and the wrong, the sweet and the sour. The tools were, well, to know the essence of something, you have to experience the opposite polarity. All this brings you to the I am, I am, I am. And then your feedback is, can I change? Can I magnetize? Can I change the structure of water? Can I influence how the air is approaching me? How I'm embracing the light? How do I embrace the light? Thank you, How present am I? Most people are not so present because I don't like who I am. What do you see in the mirror? I'm not happy. I'm not happy in myself. So the more we become in the awe and ecstasy of knowing who we are and what are, and we're all unique, aren't we, brother? In your opinion, are two souls the same, or do they all carry you? Because I know we all, majority of people were.
I'm going to come back to my initial statement and one of my mantras and say that I know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told by informational sources that there is no one else like your individual soul. Yet, if we're all one, then it's kind of a oxymoron of entanglement to me. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't need to get hung up in that because it really doesn't matter. What matters is what you were just explaining so beautifully is, and this is one of my top 5 mantras. Where is my frequency right now? That's it. It's that simple. But you must be willing to catch it and call yourself on it. And the very first part of this waking up in the dream process starts off with inner healing. Because if you don't do it, yeah, you can see that your beliefs aren't your own, and you can expand your awareness a little bit, and you can even learn how to, state and see and feel that anything you desire is already here now. But if you don't do the inner healing, that's going to sabotage everything else that's on top of it. So this is really the key. This is the last place that most people go because, number one, it's uncomfortable. Number two, we've been taught that there's a lot of shame around it and it's bad. And number three, nobody showed us how to do it. And it's really quite simple. And I know saying that might trigger some people. But I've journeyed with people that have been raped, molested, locked in a basement in a cage for 6 years, tortured by their boyfriends, everything. Alcoholic fathers, abusive mothers, and they heal 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 decades of carrying that shame, guilt, pain, anger, resentment, that whole life. And they finally get it and they go, wow. And I wouldn't ask somebody that's been raped or tortured by somebody to thank the person. But when you understand how this incarnation soul evolution operates, you may have been the one that did it to them in a past life, but you chose it. Again, it comes back to your soul contract. And I know a lot of people, when we get into really extreme abuse, they're going to say, I would have never chosen that. Just like I said, I would have never chosen for my dad to die and be the only kid growing up in school that didn't have a dad. But I chose it, and there were a lot of gifts that came along with it. But they weren't easy in the beginning because I didn't understand the tools. So what was the question you were going to ask me?
I was going to say that in your humble understanding, our main objective as a human, what is our soul evolutionary journey? What is the grand finale in your understanding? Is there a promised area, or is it infinite? We are going to be like when you get to the fifth, you get to a high, you keep going and keep inventing. But for me, it's all about the journey. But please, if you want to add some light to that reference to, is there an objective? Because we're all different. Mm-hmm.
When you realize that almost everything you've ever been taught is a lie, I just have to take the stance of, I know nothing. Yeah, I've heard there's other levels. I've heard there's a heaven. I've heard there's not a heaven. I've heard the earth is flat. I've heard the earth is round. Whatever. I love the earth. I don't really care. This is all going to come out. Antarctica is going to be exposed. There's so much stuff hidden that people don't even have a clue of 1 bazillionth of what's been hidden from us. But I don't know because I haven't experienced it, or if I have, I don't remember. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I got it all figured out. My thing, waking up in the dream, is about questioning everything and learning to not only do that, but to know when the ego wants to be in control and say something or feel something so it feels safe. That's the area where you break through and heal. It's not in knowledge. Knowledge can be good, but I'm using very little knowledge, very little, from what I was brainwashed with to create my reality. I'm using my heart, my vibration, my gratitude, my words, my thoughts, my beliefs, and my imagination. And I'm making sure that if I have one single limiting belief, that I frickin' get rid of it. Now, sometimes that takes a little bit longer, because if I could tell you, well, I'm just abundant all the time and I've never had a fear around money, or that's not true. And the program is so strong that let's give ourselves a little bit of credit. We came into the most psyoped, satanic, deceptive, inverted dream that anybody could ever dream up. And here we are. And look at where we're at.
Wow.
People are out there going, oh, Q is fake and this and that, and it's never going to happen. And I've been hearing this for 2 or 3 years. Really? 2 or 3 years? And you may have been here for thousands of lifetimes, and you're bitching and complaining because your little whiny ego doesn't see the bigger picture and it wants everything now, instant gratification. And I've been there. I'm still the guy pulling for, okay, let's do the emergency broadcast system and all the confessionals and tribunals from Guantanamo Bay. Let's do it, because until it happens, people are not going to wake up. They don't want to. They don't want to admit all this has been done to them, and they're going to have to be forced the big red pill. And some of them aren't even going to be able to handle it, and that's their choice. But to do what I came here to play my role in, to the best of my knowledge, that all needs to happen. And the tools in this process, waking up in the dream, are the fastest tools I've ever found in my life. And I paid for a lot of 3-day seminars in LA, Las Vegas, Sedona, and San Diego. And I read most of the top books on money, healing, creating your reality, conscious awareness. And most of them did not actually tell me how to really do it. Just saying. I'm not saying I'm the only guy that's figured anything out. No. But what I am saying is I'm about the fastest way. In this process, if somebody can show me a faster way than 30 days using these tools and catching and stopping and writing, filling out this simple little 5-minute sheet every night to see the programs and dismantle them, I'd love to meet you. Really. That's how successful this program has been. And I'm playing with, because I don't like to use the word WRK, I'm playing with turning this into a book for the newer schools. Because honestly, the schools are so inverted now, it is, I don't like the word, but it's satanic. It's horrific.
Brother, what does the word competition mean to you? How does that tally?
With anybody. Competition is a 3D, best way I can say it, I don't know if it's true. It's a 3D program based on fear. But not always. Like you could say, well, I'm going to run the 40-yard dash against the fastest guy in the world, and that's a competition. But yeah, I'm not in competition with anybody. I choose to be in alignment with as many people as possible.
Because you're a value builder, not a value destroyer. And you're not creating division. You're giving the tools truth. You're giving the ultimate formula so that people become connected to this, which we mentioned as well, which you are the embodiment, because you're walking your talk, you're doing, you're not synthetic, you're natural. You've shown yourself, you've proven it to yourself. And it's really, really exciting. And collective consciousness is excited, and that's the name of what we're all about. We got to get excited, because most people don't have much to get excited about. So once you get excited, I didn't know that, but
it's the highest frequency, excitement. Okay. I mean, you could say that love is, but everybody talks about love like they kind of throw it around real easily. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't really understand what true love is. And I'm not saying that I do,
Undefined.
because I know nothing. And I'm learning every single day from every single interaction, every single
but-
moment.
And you're
What's
doing
that?
it conscious. So you're not, does love need
have?
a definition? Does it need a label? Does it need anything? Does it? What
No,
is
but
love?
I was just commenting of excitement, because
Yeah.
when children are excited before they get brainwashed
That's
in this system that is specifically and intentionally set up to squash their innate intelligence, their imagination. Yep. That's the first thing they do. Sit down and shut up, and we're going to teach you what to think instead of how to think. When we take this into a newer school, personally, I don't think there's any reason for any child to ever have to go to school for 12 or 16 or 20 years to get into the club, so then they can give up 65 of the best years of their life so they can become the other spell word, retired. Re means to recycle. You know what? There's no mistake that word is called. There's no mistake. Man, if you get into word spells, it'll blow your mind. It is so deceptive. It is so satanic and inverted. And my goal is to create spelling with words that are so loving and so empowered, like a whole new dictionary. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. But we can remove the spell words, and I'll share them with you if you'd like to hear them.
Yes,
I have
please.
9. I have 9. And I invite anybody to come back and watch this again if this resonates with you, because there's a lot of stuff being shared here. I'm doing my best to share the whole frickin' process. And Baret and I are going to come back as a plan we've already talked to, and we're going to do shorter snippets based on the little individual pieces. But if you take notes on what I've been sharing here, and you do the process, you get the clicker, you print out the daily tracking sheet, and you do it, whether you do the book, the course, or a one-on-one with me, you're going to go, everybody needs to be taught this. And that was our original remembrance, you know? So the spell words that you definitely want to remove, and you can do this. When I share this with clients, the first time they begin to catch a spell word like want, wish, hope, or need, they immediately catch it the next time. Even if they say it and then they automatically catch it. Now, this is after they've been saying it, and you're going to begin to listen to all these people using these words all day long, and they do not realize, because they weren't taught, that they were being taught a completely inverted intentional system that would keep them from manifesting their reality. So these words are want, wish, hope, need, try, should, going to, hard, and difficult. Want, wish, hope, need, try, should, going to, hard, and difficult. There's probably a few other ones, but these are the main words that people use, and you'll hear them use them over and over and over and over. Even the coaches that come to me to go through this process, there's nothing wrong with saying in 6 months, I'm going to implement this, but you must understand that that is the map we're building, but to your subconscious, you see it and know it and feel it is already here now. There is no option when you're talking about the subconscious. And that's why we were not taught that. Because it's the most powerful key to know when it comes to manifestation. This is gold.
Thank you for that. I was going to say also the fact that visualization, to be able to visualize, picture in your mind is very, very powerful, right?
You're already there. That's why the word excited. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, brother. That's why the word excited is so powerful for children, because children do not have any limiting beliefs. You can hear a child saying, I'm flying on a rocket ship. I'm hanging out with the fairies in the garden, and they most likely are, until their mom or their dad tells them, oh, there's no fairies here, they don't exist, or they get squashed in the school system. That's the number one goal that the cabal school system is set up to squash. And then you lead into the medical system, which is not set up to heal anything. Did you know that in 1936, Rockefeller passed a law? This is in the United States. I don't know if it's worldwide, but that it is illegal for any doctor to cure cancer. How about that?
Sure.
That is just one of the most hugest crimes against humanity ever. But I think this COVID pandemic is probably the hugest crime against humanity ever, ever, ever. Maybe hijacking our DNA and everything, but I don't really have the history of all that. But more people have died from this, and they're dying every day. And we're seeing the rates come in. I'm not having fun talking about the bringer of bad news, but if you're not awake and aware to this, and you're still kind of in denial, then you're in denial and the matrix owns you. You must be willing to look at everything in order to heal it. And there are protocols to heal. I shared a video 2 weeks ago of the borax and the baking soda and the activated charcoal and the Lupul's iodine that I take and the diatomaceous earth and the bentonite clay. These things are all quite inexpensive that will assist you in clearing metals and toxins out of your body. And the food that you eat is really important as well. So it may seem like a lot, like, oh my God, well, I've only got so much money. I mean, look, I lived in my recording studio for 27 years. I used to eat Taco Bell, Burger King, McDonald's, and all that almost every day, and drink beer. We were partying. That was the studio thing. So
we could also, sorry. I was going to say we could also look at the software that's running in ourselves as well, because if all is a frequency, then if you can align yourself to the frequency, and I did this recently, reference to unblocking and how the energies flow within yourself. So, I mean, they're very. You've mentioned a few. That there are many modalities out there that will raise your game. But for me, the ultimate is to understand the essence of my own personal journey, because that really drops all the illusions and brings you to the I am. And you realize it's just matching a particular frequency, because everything is frequency at the end of the day. So you match that frequency, you'll have a particular experience. So, but I totally agree that the runway and for you to set off, everything that one needs is embedded, encoded in such simplified, and well done, my lovely brother, my great mentor, because it's very well put on, and you can navigate through it so easily. And it's sorry to say this, I hate to use the word idiot, it is almost idiot proof. So it is so.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. Is there a way to put a link in here to my website? Because I can't do it. It won't let me.
Yeah, I get my.
I mean, I can come back later and just pop it in 2 seconds anyway. But sometimes people are just scrolling through and they only catch part of it and they got to go. And so it's always good to have that in there. But do we still have time? Do you want to go deeper? I have barely scratched the surface of my notes, but if you follow a lot of these things we've already talked about, and I also want to say before we move on, always bless everything that you put into your body. Always bless your food, even if it happened to be, I'm vegetarian now, but, I used to eat, my best friend this guy was a barbecue master chef. And we had so many ribs and meat and chicken and beer and everything. And so it's really important to always be in gratitude and bless everything. And if you get in the habit of it, it'll become automatic. But if you don't make it an automatic, it won't.
Yeah.
Because that's the way the mind runs. It's always somewhere it's going to go if you don't direct it. And that's why creating your reality first thing in the morning, you don't wait. You just don't wait. I mean, I've found that, you start off your day like that, and every day that I do that, magic and miracles show up in my reality, and they're not even really magic and miracles. They're my frequency and my gratitude and my intention working with my vibration through my subconscious to bring that reality into my field. And you also, it's best to leave some open space for something even better to happen than what you think you desire or how you desire it to happen. Most people would say want it to happen. I don't let those words into my frequency anymore. I've set myself up, and you can do this very easily with a little bit of practice. I'm scanning what I'm going to say, and I know that the old word was W-A-N-T, and I can see it like 2 words back, so I have enough time to say I intend. I use a word like that. And once you begin to play with this, it's magic, because the subconscious gets a hold of it, and you are no longer using the word spells that were keeping your manifestations from showing up without you knowing it. Because you thought, oh, I want this for my birthday, and I hope and wish, and I'm going to, and you don't realize you didn't deliver one single order to the subconscious that it can use as having it be already here now. When you begin to play with this stuff and have fun doing it, and then get yourself a friend or a group. I've got a private Facebook group. To me, again, conscious awareness is the only game in town. Love is the goal in every moment to be it, but conscious awareness is the game that creates our reality along with those heart frequencies. And so you must learn these tools at some point if you want to get out of the 3D matrix. Yeah. I'm practicing them every day. I'm not done. I've gotten really good at it and really good at taking through people through the process in a very fast way. I mean, cutting through decades of stuff in minutes. And then they get to listen back to the entire call. They get the PowerPoint trainings where I'm talking, I've got visuals, and I've got words. So some people learn differently through audio, visual, or whatever. And so you watch these trainings, which are very simple. There's about 4 or 5 hours of them, and you see what the ego does, why it does it, and how it tries to defend it. And you're like, oh. And once you see it, it's just like once people start to wake up, like they are now, to what the government's doing to the air, food, water, our bodies, and you see it, at first you don't want to believe it because it hurts. But then when there's so much coming in that you can't deny it, that's when the tidal wave of conscious awareness and the shift happens, which is starting to happen for everybody in the world now. This is a really magnificent time, and it may even get more intense before it gets better, because people aren't going to wake up until they are forced to wake up, because who wants to admit that everything they've been told is a lie?
Yeah.
And that these people in charge have forced them into slavery when it should have been free energy. There's over 6,000 patents that are just waiting to be released with med beds and beyond. Free food, not poisoned, everything organic. No more of these spraying pesticides on your crops. And I mean, it's insanity. And they pushed it on us. So first you get pissed, and then you go, okay, Okay, you MFs, here's what we do. And to really go deep into 3D, we're going to have to forgive everything. You're not going to move into 5D if you're still holding judgment against Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates. I mean, these people should be executed, and some of them already have been. And I don't like to say that. I don't like to be the judge of who should get taken out or whatever. But when you intentionally harm and use other people and the children, torturing them to get adrenochrome, I'm sorry, but that's what I stand for. I am a guardian of that. I'm a guardian of that, and I always will be. And I'll sacrifice my life in a minute if I ever see any of that in my field. I won't even think twice. You know? So I'm all about honesty, and I'm not, you know, there's no way to move into 5D without looking at what's been done to us and healing that. So we're going to have to even forgive the pedophiles, the priests, the nuns, all those that deceived us, all those that poisoned us. Going to have to, because judgment and those lower frequencies do not and cannot exist in 5D. So let's talk about some good news. The frequencies are ramping up on the planet. Every day kind of feels the same to me. I see other people going, oh, you know, it's been off the charts for the last 3 days, and, you know, Mercury's in Uranus, and this has never happened for, you know, 1,000 years or what. And I'm just like, just kind of feels the same to me. But then other people get on the comments and they go, yeah, me too, me too. Now you got to be careful with this, because if you're programming your subconscious with a reality that you do not like because you saw somebody post it and you agree with it, I don't care if 99% of the scientists, which are so many are psyops. I don't trust science. I don't trust history. I don't trust the medical industry. Why? Because I've done my research. It's not that not all doctors are bad. I've had some good doctors sew me up and help me out. But if they're prescribing poison instead of the natural thing that was squashed and hidden, that's not a good doctor. And I don't care if you were taught that in medical school. If you haven't figured it out by now, then I don't have respect for that.
I think the word is moral compass. Where is your moral compass?
And if you're taking money and all these $10 to $20 to $150,000 payoffs for everybody that you convince to get the jib and then the boosters, have you seen the new thing that is the target for children by the time they're 7 years young? It's like 72 different V's. It's the most diabolical, horrendous, horrific thing I've ever seen in my life. One of them. Yeah. And now, if you're a child in Colorado, you can go get your penis cut off without your parents' consent. You don't have to be 18. And there's people that are just pushing that and pushing. It's the Satanists. Now Target or Walmart just partnered up with this kid that's doing satanic t-shirts. So they're pushing it on every angle. Now, it's horrible, but the breaking point is almost here. It's so close. And for a lot of people, we've already had the breaking point. We know. So there's only good. The light is one. And this is all going to be exposed very soon. And that's why we came here. So if you're thinking, hurry up, I know, I feel you. But let's stay in gratitude, because some people have gone through thousands of incarnations, been burned at the stake, killed, murdered, raped, burned. I mean, I was told that my throat was slit in my last lifetime because I shared truth with people. I don't remember that, but the person that told me that did a reading has no reason to lie. But I don't know. So, you know. So you have any questions? I want to share all my mantras, which are only about 5, before we end. But you're such a good interviewer, brother, and such a great friend. So I know that I'm kind of maybe taking up the airwaves here, but again, I just get in as much as I can. And we'll do other shows, and we'll come back and do these little shorter shows for people that maybe don't want to watch an hour and a half. And really just keep dropping the tools in a simple to understand format, because they really are simple. The only thing that can be difficult is the ego wanting to be right and holding on to that story for so many decades that it just doesn't want to give it up. But when you show it that it can be so much happier and so much more enjoy and attract so much more good stuff by dismantling those programs, all you need to do is see a couple of them, and then you're like, this stuff works. I'm in. Tell me more. You know? So.
Thank you very much, brother. It's been an absolute honor, and look forward to another session in, I know we're going to reach out very soon, and the invitation is always there.
We're reaching a lot of people. I mean, I don't have well, I have a lot of followers on Facebook. I don't like the name follower, but I've got like 15, almost 16,000 or something. That's really nothing. My YouTube channels don't get thousands or 10,000 of views yet. But I see these people doing this thing because I watch a lot of YouTube. I'm a musician, and I go down the rabbit hole of all conscious awareness and healing. But I see all these people now are using the 3D marketing of urgent, must know. I mean, I put must know in a couple of my videos because you kind of must know it. But they're using the shock thing a lot. Yeah. And I won't click on those guys that are repeatedly doing that because I don't follow that frequency.
Yeah. I think the key is like through the guardianship because then we don't need to copy. It will be open source. We don't need to copyright any. We won't ever be attacked because our guardianship is saying we're for the people, by the people. So at the end of the day, you're just attacking yourself. I'm not the prime owner of anything in particular, other than my own personal what I put out. I take responsibility of that. But it's kindness. It's about being true and leaving a beautiful marker that raises the frequency. And that's what we're about.
Absolutely, brother. Well said. Seeing everybody as your mirror.
Absolutely.
And it's easy to see somebody as your mirror when they're doing what you like and they're handsome or they're pretty or whatever. It's seeing something that Larry doesn't like and judging them. And one of my favorite mantras that changed my life that I came up with as part of the course that I call your get out of hell free card. Every time you have the propensity to have a judgment, instead, train yourself to go, isn't that interesting? And once you start to practice it, you'll see it and you'll stop. And if you go through the course or the mentorship, you'll be so practiced at filling out this sheet and catching them every day. It'll change decades and decades of your life very quickly. So isn't that interesting is one of my favorite mantras. One of my favorite mantras for basically putting the ego in its place is, I know nothing. Because the only person that needs or wants to prove that it knows something is the ego so it can feel safe and in control. And that doesn't exist. My other mantra is, what is the gift here? Anytime I see something I don't like, something that triggers me in myself or anybody else, what is the gift here? Instead of judging it, I look deeper and I go, why did I attract this into my reality? There must be something to heal or clear here. Or another way of saying it is, what is this trying to show me or teach me about me? Because it's never about the hologram out there, unless somebody's physically assaulting you and abusing you in the moment. And then, of course, never tolerate that. But the mirror, the hologram, is your greatest teacher because it's going to reflect back the beliefs, the thoughts, and the agreements that you've made along with your frequency. And when you begin to take responsibility for that, when you're willing to do that, everything in your reality shifts. Because now you're being accountable, you're not a victim, and you're catching those automatics that the Matrix programmed you to run on repeat with whatever they put on the television or in the media or whatever fear-based thing they're throwing out every week. Once you see it, you go, I've seen this playbook for 30 years now. It's the same playbook over and over because that's all they can do. Then you start to go, okay, now I'm going to take back power and control of me creating my reality, which means I unplug from the television. I don't trust science. I don't trust gaggle. They're totally AI now. I don't really trust any search engine because it seems like, I use Brave, I use Firefox, I use DuckDuckGo, but I think they've all kind of been infiltrated because I do a lot of searches. And I go, oh, I thought you were going to give me some truth, but you're giving me the hijack thing that was on Gaggle that I saw. So it really makes you question everything on a deeper level. And one of the good things it does is, one of the gifts it gives you is, you don't just take things on assumption and give your power away to what somebody else typed up. So very, very powerful. Very powerful. So is this so yeah, basically in wrapping up, if you want to wrap it up.
Cool, brother. Sounds great.
What's happening right now is everyone is being given a choice to tune in to a much higher frequency level. And that's by either unplugging from the old ways of automatically reacting to the external 3D program that's always running by them, and to begin to consciously and intentionally create a reality on a higher vibrational timeline that's directed through the heart. And that's it. And that's where the separation is separation right now. If your family's still saying you're crazy and you're a they're just running in fear, and they're not even willing to question themselves that they could be wrong. Even after everything that you've said almost has turned out to be right. And they don't want to go and do any research. So there's only one thing you can do. Well, there's a couple. If they're obnoxious, you can unplug, but definitely send them love, because there's nothing else of value that you can send to them. Judgment isn't going to happen, isn't going to work. Calling them sheeple, and I used to do that because that was a term that came up. I'm like, okay, that's the term, but it's a degrading term, and I don't want to degrade anybody. So I just say people that are still in the dark or unwilling to do their research, because I've done hundreds of thousands, if not millions of hours of research. And I can back up everything I post. So be thankful to these people that are educating you, even if it hurts at first. Because these people, including myself, have put my ass on the line. I've had my account restricted. I've triggered a lot of people. But I do it in a really gentle way, so I don't really get a lot of threats or anything. But I've had to block a lot of people that, when you put something in somebody's face and it triggers their belief system and you call them on it, even if it's done gently, they're going to get triggered if they don't have the tools.
I find to diffuse as well, laughter, smiling is a great way of diffusing to, the level of toxicity that's in the atmosphere. So if you start smiling, people always give that, they automatically react. If you smile, they usually smile back. Although they might, and then you can make them laugh and tickle them. That's even more exciting,
And I have to say, you are a master at that, brother. You definitely are. And
it's a miracle.
So
yes,
we can always come back and do something else. There was a lot shared here. My YouTube channel is Portal to Awakening, TO, just like my website. So there's a lot of free, and I take you through it. I don't hold back. I don't go, you got to buy my course if you want the tools. I've shared almost everything with you here. It's just that if you do go through the process, you're going to commit to doing it every day, and you're going to move through it that much quicker. Whereas Larry probably doesn't want to do it every day because he would rather run his 40 or 50 year program that he's been running. So you have to make a commitment at some time. And when you do, everything's going to shift for you. And so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you're interested in the 30-day mentorship, send me a private message or go to the website and read about it. Read all the testimonials. I have people that have taken so many different seminars and read all the books I read, and they're like, this book changed my life more than anything else in the last 25 years. Because it goes to the underlying programs. So anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure to come on here and share with you, brother. I'm honored to have space to do it. Thank you for reaching out and creating that. And nothing but good things ahead. So thank you to everybody that follows. And if this resonates with you, people that watch this, please feel free to share it, because these tools are not, they're not out there in the mainstream the way they can be. And when this becomes the new school system, and other things too, I'm not saying this is all it, but this is a huge, huge piece of gold towards our freedom and our healing. So I'll leave you with that. Many blessings. Yeah, my honor.
Beautiful.
Okay, catch up soon. Big love.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Baret Tounian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and